All right, hello and welcome to this episode where we're going to talk about rumination and its impact on OCD and anxiety and really how it fuels the OCD and anxiety loop. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Codde, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Restored Minds. And if you could help us out real quick by liking, subscribing, leaving a comment or review on iTunes and Spotify, that would really appreciate it. As well as if you're looking for help and if you're looking for guidance and resources to really break the loop and take back control of your life, please head over to Restored Minds, or we have some links right down in the notes for you that will take you to some great resources to get started with. So, with all that said, let's dive into today's episode. So, this episode and the next episode are going to be really drawn from two questions that were sent in for the show. So if you guys have any questions, please, there's a link down in the notes as well. Send them in. I always appreciate questions, and I want to make sure that the show's beneficial to you. So send them in, and we'll be happy to consider them for a future episode. So the question reads, introduction. I often have this type of OCD where I imagine somebody getting in a certain argument with me, and I have to refute the argument properly. Sometimes it gets complicated. For example, I may imagine that I have a girlfriend that is insinuating that I cheated on her, or I have to prove that she's wrong, or something about getting pulled over by the police. I'm not going to go into the full question, but basically it's they list several ideas of if the police officer said that I may have been drinking and I wasn't. And, so essentially what the person's doing is that they are really imagining these types of kind of catastrophic moments and then trying to figure out how they would argue and convince the other person of what's going on and how they would get out of it. And so ultimately the question is like, what will we call this, and any advice of how to address it. And the reality is it's the same exact OCD and anxiety loop. It doesn't really matter what we call it. You can call it like, and even then giving it a name, the issue I have with giving a bunch of like sub themes and sub names to this OCD and anxiety loop is it gives validity to the theme. Like somehow that this theme is more valid than the other ones. When really it's just this wheel, and this wheel is fueled by fear, and it ultimately perpetuates based off if we do behaviors that that validate it and that continue that keep the loop going, right? So, which would be called safety behaviors or compulsions. And so our objective is to break the loop itself, not what you're looping about. And that's the key for anything. And so with rumination, what this person is engaging in a lot of is rumination. And that is you trying to solve and figure out something either in the past or something that does not yet exist in the future. So that's really the only two places rumination can exist. So in this particular instance, what I would try to understand is, okay, like what are you really afraid of happening in these catastrophic scenarios? Whether it's getting rejected or, people ending relationships with you, like what is it? And then, because that's ultimately what the fear you feel comes from is something as a result of these feared scenarios. And what your compulsions are you trying to, again, get rid of the fear you're experiencing? So what's happening is you're projecting the fear out into the future of these conversations that could happen. And the only time you should ever handle a conversation like that is if it's actually happening. There's no logical reason to have fake conversations in your head about people you just spoke with, people you're going to talk to, or even conversations that could happen in the future, because you're not, you would never be able to script out how that conversation would really go, because you're having to have it with a person that you can't control what they're going to do. Conversation is very much like a dance, right? It's a flow, it's an ebb and flow, it's a living and breathing thing that requires two people to engage in it. So trying to script out conversations is a total safety behavior, and it's okay. It's just calling it what it is. And instead of trying to, again, focus on, how do I get rid of that safety behavior, right? I'm sorry, or how do I address that specific fear? Um, Really just understanding that it's the loop. It's the loop, and what you're engaging in is the safety behaviors. What you're engaging in is the compulsions, and because of that, what's going to happen is as you engage in that and ruminate and analyze and do all that stuff, that loop is just going to gain force, gain momentum, and gain power, and ultimately gain control over your life. So your objective needs to be identifying all the behaviors you're engaging in, and then really, again, removing those behaviors. That's the process of ERP, so that this wheel is not spinning. And the best way that I know to do that is obviously the AAA response. That's why I teach it. And obviously, if you want to learn more about that, you can. A great place to get started would be the book. We have some links down in the notes. You can also head over to Restored Minds. We have a full 12-week program on the AAA response called Taking Back Control. So those are like my very transparently biased resources, but I've seen it work so many times that I feel very confident in extending that as a option, because it's really, instead of focusing on what not to do and how not to do this, by implementing a solution that indirectly gets rid of the problematic behavior, it just seems to help people be so much more successful. And so that's what I would say there. When it comes to what to call this, I wouldn't worry about what to call it. I would just call it the loop. I would call it, again, noticing the energy of fear in the body, and just really understanding we just need to break the loop. Because if you get too much in the content, the thing is you'll just bounce around to different content. It might be conversations, then all of a sudden it's disease or health issues or driving or flying or money, whatever. And that's why handling it from the fear level internally is going to be the most transformative path for you to be successful. So really hope that was helpful, and thank you so much for submitting the question. In the next episode, we're also going to talk about rumination, because we got several questions on it this week. So be sure to check that out as well. And with that, again, if you're looking for any guidance, resources, help on this journey, please head over restoredminds.com or click on the links below, and you'll be taken to some resources to get you started. Thank you so much, and I wish you guys a great day. Hey there. So if you enjoyed that video, we've linked up a few more videos that we think you'd find helpful as well. And if you have found this helpful, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing. And if you're looking for help and guidance, please check out restoredminds.com, as we have several options for you to get started. See you guys soon.